So I'm going to also be looking at glitter. We will be glissing in this session as well for your questions. I wanted to start with Cagla really and ask about leadership styles. What has changed or is changing or needs to change in terms of the type of leadership that we should now be looking for?
I think the world has changed. You know, the world is changing around us. Alison, you alluded to that from a technology angle. What we're seeing is, I think a lot of leaders are looking around and seeing the overused term of VUCA. I think that's what we use now. And they're thinking what probably got us here isn't going to get us to the next stage. Alison, sorry to repeat what you said, but I think what we're seeing is businesses and leaders thinking about what is the different repertoire of leadership skills that we need, and this cuts across both genders. And we're finding a lot of organizations thinking about what do they need to reinvent, what do they need to take to the next stage, and what is the leadership that's required for that. And it goes beyond the traditional ways of looking at an individual of, you know, what experience they've had or what competencies they have, but more in terms of what is their potential to deal with this very ambiguous, always changing world. So I think that is a very fundamental change in the way that individuals have to think about how they present themselves as the future leaders.
And is it, as Alison was suggesting, something for which you think that women are better adapted than men?
So look, I think we've done a lot of research into what potential is and what is potential for. And I think what we have found, the main determinant of potential is curiosity. And curiosity, just adding on to a little bit of how Alison defined it, is also curiosity about learning from your mistakes, always questioning whether you're doing the right thing, and looking for what we call disconfirming evidence. So there's one thing about having the confidence to know this is the path I want to go, but always having the openness to kind of listen, truly listen to the feedback, good or bad. And that's what we found is the main determinant of the potential. And it's very difficult to say whether there's a gender bias to that, to be honest. But there are other elements as well. So the other elements are, so you've learned what you have to learn. How do you derive an insight out of that? How do you form the synthesis of where you want to take this insight into? Then there's the engagement piece, where I think there might be a gender bias. I don't have the academic studies to prove that. But the engagement is, how do you create followership as a leader? It's not just on kind of one-on-one having the conversations, but it's about how do you mobilize an organization along a path that might often be quite uncomfortable.
Right.
And the last is kind of having that grit and the determination. So, you know, it's difficult to say which one has more of the gender bias, but I do suspect on the EQ point, assuming that's a big part of how do you create followership, there could possibly be an advantage that we might have over the men. Yeah.